Hi there and welcome back to Brew Report, where this week we're back outside. We're enjoying the sun right after the rain in the taproom at Boxcar Brewery in East London. This week I am Schrodinger's tiny dog because I am both inside and I am also outside. I'm inside enjoying this delicious Endless IPA from Boxcar just across the road, but I'm also outside enjoying that same beer on Cask, and in this video I'm going to use the magic of video editing to experience the two of those things side by side. Quick breakdown of what's going on. Boxcar is a microbrewery. It's based in Bethnal Green, East London, right by Bethnal Green Station. They have just set up a hand pull in their brewery. They set up a cask tap in their brewery, which means they'll be able to serve different kinds of beer on rotation. Now, eventually, I understand it, talking to one of the brewers there, they are planning to have that, the sort of standard beer on that to be dark mild. But for now, they're experimenting with a few different options to see how things go. And the first beer they've got on there that I've been able to try at least is Endless IPA. This is a really heavily hopped IPA. It's got 7 different hop varieties, 20 grams per litre, which is a lot. And from my experience of drinking it before, just sipping it occasionally, it's a really tasty beer. So I'm excited to try it again today and see exactly how it compares, drinking it here in the can and then drinking it over at the brewery in the tap room from Cask. All right, so let's get stuck into this. We've got ourselves our can of Endless right here, and it's a pretty beautiful can. We're back to the standard Boxcar style. It's got this sort of fully illustrated all the way around, with the label sort of stretching around the can. Of course, the blurb on the can is as esoteric and as meaningless as always. What I can say specifically about this beer, yes, it is suitable for vegans. No, it is not gluten-free, and it is, in terms of alcohol content, 6.0%. So a fairly punchy one in terms of ABV. Let's crack it open and see what it looks like inside. Chill out. The can itself has a sort of slightly psychedelic, slightly holographic almost imagery. The sort of the Buddha sitting there with the multicolored background all around it. Does it relate at all to the contents of what's in the can? Not particularly. It's a very bright orange, hazy beer with a thick white head. So in terms of the aroma, we've got a lot of stone fruit stuff going on. I'm getting apricot, I'm getting peaches, I'm getting white grape, and a little bit of sort of raspberry fizz as well. There's a little bit of berry fruit going on as well, which is really a very heady and pleasant combination. It does smell slightly different on Cask than it does from the can, which is a pleasant surprise, so I'm reassured by that. We've poured this out now, and as I said, we've got a cloudy, pale orange beer with a fairly thick white head, fairly fine bubble structure, and these beautiful aromas of orange and pineapple coming through here. And it's a much more intense aroma in the can than you get on Cask. On Cask, it's a much more diffuse sweetness. You get more of that sort of white grape coming through. You get some more stone fruits. You don't get as much of the pineapple. You don't get as much of that sort of intense syrupy orange juice sweetness. Here, that's very much more intense. And it's almost as if that process of being canned and being confined in the can for so long has really concentrated that aroma, ready to be unleashed as soon as you crack the thing open. So there's definitely a difference here in terms of what it's like on the palate and the mouthfeel on Cask versus the can or versus having it on draft. It's a lot softer, a lot smoother. That sort of velvety vanilla softness, that cloudy sort of sensation is a lot more pronounced here. It's a lot smoother going down. You get much more effervescence, a much sort of heavier carbonation when it's on draft or when it's from the can. The result of that, you get much more of the sweetness here. You really pick up, again, those stone fruits, that apricot, that peach. You pick up those grape juice flavours. And really, it's a very sweet, refreshing, light sensation. You don't get that sort of slightly harsher attack from the carbonation that you get when you're drinking this from the can. There's an element of that sort of slightly alcoholic aftertaste there. Touch of banana perhaps on the aftertaste, but it's mostly that sort of green, white grape, slight hint of grass, and some more of that sort of peach skin, that sort of peach skin dryness almost on the finish, to slightly balance out that really strong sweetness. So in terms of the flavour, we're led with orange juice, and it's got that very sweet orangey flavour coming through at the top. There's also an element of pineapple juice coming through as well. And generally, it's a lot smoother than you would normally expect. And I say that because there's a fair bit of carbonation in here. It's not heavily carbonated. It's not like the bubbles are attacking you, but there's enough carbonation in there for you to be aware that it's there. It's definitely a character of the beer. That's balanced out to some degree by this sort of vanilla, pillowy sweetness. It's partly the sort of vanilla notes in there. It's partly the wheat and the oats adding thickness to the mouthfeel, but together they balance each other out very nicely. That's one way in which this really differs in terms of Endless between the can and the cask. The can has that balance and it's very beautifully got those different elements pitted against each other. On cask, you lose some of that carbonation, and so some of that sweetness, that vanilla-y, pillowy sweetness goes unchecked. And if anything, that means the cask version ends up a little bit sickly, perhaps a little bit too sweet as a result. On the finish, I'm getting more pine resin. I'm getting, again, more pineapple. This time the pineapple is a little bit more intense though. It's caramelized, dried pineapple, rather than the fresh pineapple we were getting earlier. More orange, but this time again, intenser, more orange peel, more dried, sort of candied peel rather than just orange juice that we were getting before. An element of white grape, and just a little hint of sort of nectarine, apricot, stone, that sort of paler stone fruit flavour coming through on the finish again as well. I think I would rate this beer on can, in a can, I would rate this a 4 out of 5. This is something I would happily drink can after can of. And given that it's 6%, can after can is probably about the limit. I mean, more than 2 of these and I'd be on the floor, but it's something I would happily drink without necessarily feeling too curious about what else is on. I feel like I'm betraying my socks and sandals card-carrying camera members a little bit by saying this, but I feel like this is a beer that's actually better not on cask. And actually that cask treatment is possibly best reserved for another beer that can really benefit from that experience, from that process of conditioning on the cask over the course of a couple of days. So 4 out of 5 in the can, a 3 out of 5 on cask. But hey, what do I know? That's just my opinion. What I want to hear now is, what did you think? Have you tried these beers? Are you a big fan of Boxcar? Have you done a side-by-side tasting of a cask versus a canned beer, or a cask versus a draft beer? Let me know. I'm really interested to hear what you think of this one, either in the comments below or drop me an email at brewreportuk@gmail.com. Really happy to answer any of your questions. And if you liked this video, please do feel free to check out the other videos on my channel, or go to brewreport.co.uk, where I post fresh beer reviews and fresh content every week. And until next time, happy drinking. This boy's got muddy paws, so it's not going to sit on my lap the whole time, but he's still very sweet.